I want you to understand that Americans today are no longer living in the nation of our founding fathers. We're not even living in the nation of our fathers, much less our founding fathers. Our nation's government is evolving away from the constitutional republic that we once were into an authoritarian technocracy. Now, for those of you watching, if you did not see my class on technocracy, you need to watch technocracy, technocrats, what that means and what their agenda is. You can watch that by clicking on the QR code right there. That will bring you to our servers. Type in the word technocrats, Techo. When you get to that website right there, go to the search bar and type in the word technocracy or technocrats and watch our teaching on that subject, because that is where our nation is headed. President Trump is leading not a political movement. President Trump is not a true Republican. That's why they hate him. President Trump is leading a populist revolt against something called the American deep state. When Donald Trump was elected president of the United States against all odds and to fulfill a 4-year-old prophecy, all of a sudden during his presidency, classified documents began to be leaked almost every other day to the press. Now, the majority of this information that was released came from anonymous sources that had been designed somewhere up the ladder to discredit the president, to damage President Trump, and to end his presidency. Donald Trump's presidency was the impossible presidency. In other words, it was impossible for him to even become president. And when by that great miracle it happened, it was now impossible for him to keep his presidency, because all of the American deep state had a vested interest on both sides of the aisle to rid themselves of this leader of a populist revolt. While Trump was in office, the federal government was literally at war with itself, my friend. Literally, the federal government was at war with its own self. It wanted to destroy its own leader. Bureaucrats in Washington were waging a civil war against the Trump administration. When he came to office, he said he wanted to drain the swamp. But guess what? The swamp fought back. The swamp was not ready to be drained. And the deep state, and I'm going to explain what I mean by the deep state tonight, is trying to exert its control over the United States government. They literally attempted to force President Donald John Trump to leave the office of the presidency. They threw everything imaginable against this man. They still are. And nothing they did, with all of their elephantine strength, all of their gargantuan power, they still could not destroy this man. I want to talk about the deep state. What is the deep state? Is it just a mystical term? No, quite the opposite. The first time we heard the term was in the 1970s in the nation of Turkey. In Turkey, there was a powerful, unelected government of bureaucrats. They had not been elected. Remember what I just told you. They had not been elected. Unelected government officials are what we call a bureaucracy or bureaucrats. They're not elected. They're not accountable to the people. Well, in Turkey, they took over their government with these unelected bureaucrats. That was the first time we begin to hear the word the deep state. If you go to the Oxford English Dictionary, they define deep state like this: a body of people, typically influential members of government agencies. Remember that word, agencies, or the military, believed to be involved in secret manipulation of government policy. Remember this: the deep state is not trying to control the government. They are trying to control the policy. So in order to control the policy, you must control the policy makers. You must control the policy enforcers. So if you want to control the government, then you must control the policy. In the United States, the term describes a group of people in our nation that have become a permanent bureaucracy. They're not elected, they answer to no one, and they govern the United States of America with autonomy and no transparency. That is the deep state. Okay? Do you know what the deep state is now? Unelected people who have become so emaciated, so entrenched in the affairs of government that they are governing. It's this simple. A government is not the president. A government is not King Charles or Queen Elizabeth. The heads of state are not governments. A government is those that do the governing on behalf of the governor. For example, Her Majesty the Queen would appoint a minister of finance, a ministry of transportation, a ministry of health, and those ministries would govern those areas for Her Majesty. Those people are unelected. They are bureaucrats. In America, we have that. The president, as long as he comes, they don't care who you elect as president. As long as that president knows how the game is played. As long as that president goes and sits at his desk and lets the bureaucrats that was in the last administration keep governing the nation, then they have no problem with that president. But when you have a president that comes into that office and says, you know what we're going to do? We're going to take away 2 policies for every new policy we pass. Now you're messing with the deep state. Now you're taking away all of their control. I'll tell you when the bureaucracy in America got really bad. 1947. The president was Harry Truman. He signed an act called the National Security Act. Notice that word, National Security Act. What we will give up for security. What we will give up for a food stamp check. What we will give up for a check from our government. This is a beautiful bill that was passed. National security. Social security. We all want security. Harry Truman gave it to us. When he signed the National Security Act, it created the following departments: the Department of Defense, the National Security Council, the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and the Central Intelligence Agency. They all came in 1947 to bring you and I security. That's how it was sold. The CIA, which was part of the dossier, the Steele dossier, they're the one that provided all that, but they were created to bring us security. During the Cold War, the CIA director was Allen Dulles. The FBF director, Federal Bureau of Fabrications, J. Edgar Hoover, went behind the president's back. We knew nothing about it. My forefathers didn't. And hired and recruited 1,000 former Nazi agents to work as spies and informants. We knew nothing about it. The president knew nothing about it. Bureaucrats governing the nation. There are two governments in this nation, the one that you and the ones that governs the ones you elected. Now, President Truman regretted signing the National Security Act. I'm going to read you his words from the Washington Post on December the 22nd, 1963. He said, and I quote, "I never had any thought that when I set up the CIA, that it would be injected into peacetime operations. Some of the complications and embarrassments I think that we have experienced are in part attributable to the fact that this quiet intelligence arm of the president has been so removed from its intended role that it is being interpreted as a symbol of sinister and mysterious intrigue and a subject for Cold War enemy propaganda." He wished he would have never signed it. He wished he would have never passed it. This is why it's so important for you and I to fight and be alert when they say they're trying to protect us. Put your mask on. We're looking out for you. No, they're looking out for them. Senator Frank Church in the 1970s led an investigation into the CIA, the FBF, and the NSA. And he warned us a dire warning. You can look it up for yourself. Senator Frank Church. He said that technological advances were giving these agencies unprecedented surveillance power. Now we have two words: security, surveillance. It was created as the National Security when it should have been the National Surveillance Act. I want to read to you from Senator Church's findings. He said, if this government ever became a tyranny, if a dictator ever took charge in this country, the technological capacity that the intelligence community has given the government could enable it to impose total tyranny. And there would be no way to fight back, because the most careful effort to combine together in resistance to the government, no matter how privately it was done, is within the reach of government to know. Let me break that down for you. If we ever got a tyrannical government and we wanted to meet together like the Sons of Liberty did to overthrow the king, guess what? We couldn't do it. Why? Surveillance. Ladies and gentlemen, this nation is being prepped for tyranny. The surveillance and the technology is there today, but it started off as security. Senator Church said on NBC's Meet the Press in 1975 these words: I don't want to see this country ever go across the bridge. I know the capacity that is there to make tyranny total in America. And we must see to it that this agency and all agencies that possess this technology operate within the law and under proper supervision so that we never cross that abyss. Ladies and gentlemen, what Senator Church just feared has come to pass. Who did it come to pass on? Donald John Trump. What did he say there? He said that we must make sure that these agencies, CIA, FBF, NSA, that they all operate within the law. Did you not hear the video clip earlier where the Durham report admits that these agencies failed to operate under the law? This is why it's so important for you to stand up for your rights. Even to the police. You can stand up for your rights. Never, ever, ever be willing to give up your rights as an American citizen. If you don't fight for it, they won't either. We just have proof. Donald Trump, the law was broken. And why that doesn't, anyway. Now, these technological advances that Church warned us about became even greater under the presidency of George W. Bush. In 2002, he authorized the NSA to eavesdrop on U.S. citizens if there was just the least suspicion that we were involved with terrorists. Surveillance, security, or is it surveillance? Barack Obama promised to curb data collection of U.S. citizens, but instead, he greatly expanded the power of American surveillance state. Barack Obama is no longer president, but I want you to listen to what I'm about to tell you. 850,000 people who held top secret clearances in his administration are still on the job. Wake up, America. 850,000 people with top clearances, top secret, under his administration are still on the job. They're the bureaucrats. They're the ones that did the secret leaks on Trump, secret classified documents to the press. They had to get rid of the man that was trying to get rid of them. They've literally become the fourth branch of our government. You can call it deep state, call it whatever you want to. But this group of people deeply despise Trump and his supporters. They want us to all go away. If we would have went away, they wouldn't have got Alan Bragg's involved. If we would have went away, they wouldn't be getting their little Fanny Manny in Atlanta, Georgia, whatever her name is. They wouldn't be getting Letitia over in New York. Letitia. You see, they're all part of an agenda to hold on to power. When the framers of our Constitution designed three co-equal branches of government, legislative power to write the laws, judicial power to interpret, and executive power to enforce, that's exactly how they set it up. They did not set up a fourth branch of government. That gigantic bureaucracy that many Americans think when they think of the federal government is not even in the Constitution. All of those bureaucratic agencies. Those agencies are only supposed to exist to serve the president in carrying out his duties. Instead, it's become an unelected fourth branch of government. Today, as I speak to you, wake up, America. Today, as I speak to you, there are 2,794,000 federal employees. I don't know if you heard me. I don't know if you heard me. I'm going to repeat it. 2,794,000 federal employees in 15 departments, 69 agencies, and 383 sub-agencies, and they take $4 trillion a year to support. That's 1/5 of our total economic output for bureaucrats. Unelected. That's why these agencies have evolved into independent entities over which the president has no control. Their exponential growth has led to increasing power and independence. Here's what Jonathan Turley wrote in the Washington Post. The shift of authority has been staggering. The fourth branch now has a larger impact on the lives of citizens than all three other branches combined. There was a study done, and I'm going to read it to you. This study found that elected lawmakers in Congress enacted 138 public laws in 2007. 138, the House of Representatives, where the laws are supposed to be passed. Guess how many laws were passed outside the House of Representatives in this fourth branch of government? 3,000 new regulations or laws, same thing. Did you hear me? Congress, 138 laws. That fourth branch of government passed 3,000 laws. Unelected, unaccountable, they answer to no one. If America is no longer governed by laws passed by our elected representatives that answer to us, we are no longer in a republic. We live in a technocracy run by the powerful, unelected leaders and experts. Donald Trump is the political outsider who has promised to shrink the government and to return power back to the states, back to the local government or to the individual citizen. Part of President Trump's platform was to destroy the administrative state, to return things back to our states, education, back to the local level. President Trump has stepped up his war on federal regulations. He vowed to shrink the code of federal regulations by 87%. He said these words after his election. The never-ending growth of red tape in America is coming to a screeching, beautiful halt. He said, we're going to cut a ribbon because we're going to get back below the 1960 level, and we'll be there fairly quickly. Listen to me carefully. What am I teaching you this for tonight? I'm now bringing you to the boiling point so you can understand why left, right, blue, red, donkey, or elephant, why they all must get rid of him. When you vow to cut this bureaucracy down 87%, you just messed up careers. You just messed up power structures. He is a threat to the threat. Your president is a threat to the threat. He has laid out a plan, ladies and gentlemen, and that plan is what's made him an enemy. They have strong motives to stop this president's agenda, I remember after President Trump was inaugurated, he established a travel ban to the Middle Eastern nation, and the head of his Justice Department refused to implement it. Why? Because now you're messing with the agenda. The Washington Post reported that President Trump's people were getting advice from Obama-era appointees on how to push back against Trump, the man they're supposed to be working for. Donald Trump is in a war. When I hear people, I've got people watching me right now, you know what they tell me when they don't support Trump? I'm just tired of the drama. Darling, you better wake up. We're so past drama. This is war between two opposing ideologies, two agendas, two visions. Do you not believe there's going to be friction there? If you're tired of the drama, then you're tired of freedom. If you're tired of the drama, then you're tired of the American dream. If you're tired of the drama, it's because you're a coward and not worthy to call yourself an American. If you're tired of the drama, it's because you don't understand the dilemma. Good night and God bless you, everyone.
God bless America.